lesson, we're going to do operations with polynomials. The first page of your worksheet is kind of a refresher from Algebra 1. It deals all of your laws of exponents. So I'm going to review your laws of exponents really quick, just to hopefully refresh your memory. First up, if you have two exponents that are multiplying, x squared times x to the fourth, the rule is that you add exponents. So that would be x to the 6th, because 2 plus 4 is 6. Same thing if I had negative. X to the negative 2 times x to the 8th. Add them. Negative 2 plus 8 is 6. So that's your rule for multiplying. What else do you need to know? You need to know division. So what if these x to the 5th divided by x? If you remember, if there is no exponent, there's really a 1 right there. And if you divide, your rule is to subtract. So 5 minus 1 is 4. I'd probably write these rules down somewhere. Probably should have told you that in the beginning. So pause it, get some paper to write notes in, and write these down. So again, if you multiply, you add exponents. I'll write that here. If you multiply, you add the exponents. If you're dividing, you subtract the exponents. Let me give you another division one. If we had y to the 10th divided by y to the 2nd, there you go. 10 minus 2 is 8, so that would be y to the 8th. The next type you'll need to know is called power to power. So that's like if you have an exponent inside the parentheses and you have another one on the outside, that rule is that you multiply. So 3 times 4 would be 12. What others? You also need to know that anything to the 0 power is 1. I could have all this craziness in here. And if it's all raised to the 0 power, your answer is just 1. You also need to know you can't have negative exponents. So like if I give you x to the negative 4, that's not allowed in the math world. So to make it a positive, you move it. If it's on top, you move it to the bottom. If it's on bottom, you move it to the top. So this one was on top, so I'm going to move it to the bottom. And when you move it, it becomes positive. And if there's nothing on top, put a 1 there. Okay? So I'm going to do a few examples like you're going to see on this worksheet. What if I gave you m to the negative 3 times m to the 4th times m to the 6th? They're all multiplying, and your rule when they multiply is to add them. So negative 3 plus 4 plus 6 is 7. Alright, we've done division. We've done, okay, this one's a good one. Let's do this. X to the negative 4 times a y divided by x to the 3rd, y to the negative 2. First thing, let me show you, this is our separate problem. First thing I like to do is add 1s. If it doesn't put an exponent, I like to add my 1s on there. So they're dividing, so the rule is when they're dividing, you subtract. So negative 4 minus 3 is negative 7. I subtracted my x's. Subtract your y's. 1 minus negative 2 is 3. Because that minus negative really changes to plus. The only thing wrong with this answer is that you can't have a negative exponent as an answer. So I'm going to leave my y to the 3rd on top because it's positive. I don't want to change it. I'm going to move my x to the 7th on bottom, and when you move it, it changes to positive. So your final answer would be y to the 3rd over x to the 7th. Next up, let's do this one. Let's do x to the 3rd y over x to the negative 4th y squared. I'm going to do all of this to the negative 2. First thing you've got to take care of is your parentheses, that big exponent on top. So what I'm going to do is take this negative 2 and distribute it, put my 1 here, to everything on the inside. So 3 times negative 2 gives me a negative 6. 1 times negative 2 gives me a negative 2. On bottom, negative 4 times negative 2 gives me 8. And 2 times negative 2 gives me negative 4. So now I can subtract like terms because they're dividing. So negative 6 minus 8 is negative 14. And y, negative 2 minus negative 4 is 2. The only thing wrong with this is that you can't have that negative 14. So I'm going to move it to the bottom to make it positive. I'm going to leave my y2 on top because it's already positive and I don't want to move it. Okay. Alright, let's do another one. Let's do this. Let's do 1/4 times negative 8 m to the third n times m squared n p to the third. And I'm going to do a squared on the outside of here. Alright, this one's going to be a lot of steps, so get ready. If I move too fast, pause it and you can catch up. First thing I need to take care of is this little squared out here. So I'm going to distribute it to everything that's inside of that parentheses. I'm going to go ahead and add ones on everything. So I have 1/4. I'm going to bring all this down. Negative 8, m to the third, n to the first. Here I'm going to have m to the fourth, because it's on the outside, that means you multiply, n to the second, and p to the sixth. Now I'm going to multiply my numbers. 1/4 times negative 8, that gives me negative 2. And my letters are multiplying, and if you remember your rules, if they're multiplying, you add. So your m's, 3 plus 4 is 7. Your n's, 1 plus 2 is 3. And there's no p in that first parenthesis, so I'm just going to bring down my p to the 6. Let's do one more, and then I'm going to move on to what's on the back of your worksheet. Let's do this. 2ab to the third times 4a to the squared b, I'm going to do all this squared, over 6m, nope, where did I get an m from? A to the fourth, b to the, let's do 6. Alright, here we go. I'm going to start with this 2 right here. It goes to everything inside, even your whole numbers, because this whole number has an exponent of a 1, so does the b. So I'm going to bring my 2ab cubed over. So I'm going to get 4 squared, I'm going to get a to the fourth, I'm going to get b squared. I did that because I multiplied all the exponents by 2. And on bottom, I still have 6, a to the fourth, b to the 6. Alright, I know 4 squared is 16, so I'm just going to make that be 16. So I'm going to do my whole numbers now. 2 times 16 is 32. I'm going to add my a's. There's really a 1 there, so I get a to the fifth. I'm going to add my b's and get b to the fifth. And write my bottom. 6a to the fourth, b to the sixth. Next up, let's divide those. 32 divided by 6. It will reduce to 16/3. Whenever you subtract exponents, they always go on top. So my a's, when I subtract 5 minus 4, I get 1. My b's, when I subtract, I get negative 1. And the only thing wrong with this answer is you cannot have that negative. So final answer is 16/3. I'm going to leave my a1 on top because it was positive. I'm going to move my b1 on the bottom because it was negative. Okay? So those are a few laws of exponent problems. On the back is more just review, or the second page of your worksheet is more reviews like adding and subtracting polynomials. I think you're going to be okay with this. The only thing, let me give you an example like this. If I had 2x squared plus 4xy minus 3y squared, I wanted to subtract 4x squared minus 2xy plus 5y squared. If I wanted to do this problem, I can combine these x squared. 2 minus 4 is negative 2x squared. I could combine my xy's. So I would have 4 minus negative 2. 4 minus negative 2. That gives me a positive 6xy. And last up, I can do my y squared. So a negative 3, again my sign is a minus. 5, negative 3 minus 5 is negative 8. And leave it as a y squared. And I think you're going to be fine with what's on the back. Let me do one that's a binomial times a trinomial. Let's do x plus 1 times 3x squared minus 4x plus 6. Distribute, that gives me 3x to the third, because that's a 1 and that's a 2, and 1 plus 2 is 3. X times negative 4x is negative 4x squared. X times 6 is 6x. 1 times 3x squared is 3x squared. 1 times negative 4x is negative 4x. 1 times 6 is 6. Let's combine like terms. Nothing, there's not a cube, so I'm just going to bring that one down. I can combine my squares. Negative 4 plus 3 is negative 1. And my x's, 6 minus 4 is a positive 2. I'll bring down my plus 6. So you should be good with what's on the back.